Alright, so Tyr, I have to just say real quick that I have never in my life struggled so much to record a video. There are over 2,000 videos on this channel over the course of 9 years. Never before has a video taken this long. I pulled Tyr a week ago. And what you're gonna see is what I just managed to get. And it's not even Tyr's fault. Tyr is actually pretty decent. I do question where the hell you're supposed to use this unit, but if you're a newer player, Tyr is honestly a good unit. The problem is, she gives herself Pierce, which already locks her out of a decent portion of the game, and then the other issue that she has is there are not very many scenarios where she can take advantage of Weakness Strike, let alone Super Weakness Strike, so half her kit pretty much locks her out of being at her full potential in like 60+% of the game. Not even. If you really want that weakness, the Super Weakness Strike, then realistically, she's locked out of like 70-80% of the game. So she'll be great for you in story mode, I guess, but we're gonna take a look at some of the events that you can clear with her. I wanted to try and use a bunch of different protectors with her just to try and give people, especially newer players who are pulling a bunch of random bullshit options. And the first team we are going to start off with is the Stern of Spirit team. That's right, good old Overlord. So let's hop right into that. Alright, hopping on into the good old Overlord team. I'm looking down so I can actually see what's going on. But in fact, let me actually bring this closer to me. We also have the Earth Jean with us because she's also on Stern of Spirit, so it'll make our lives a lot easier. As you can see, Narbrol can change her orbs as well, and she'll also be able to change Tyr's orbs. So you guys pretty much know how the Overlord team works. However, this is a little bit different because normally I'd have Ainz and Mirai, whereas right now we have Tyr and Jean. So, you know, a little bit different from what I would normally do, but Tyr gets the job done just fine. We're going to go through this so I can show you a little bit of differences between using Tyr and not using Ainz, which you'll see a little bit later in this fight. This is also like one of only 2 fights that actually have the entire thing in it, because this, as I said, took a long time to record, and it's simply just due to the terrible orb luck. Awful, awful orb luck. Literal hours. I sat here for hours upon hours in every single stage you're about to see, just trying to either get a hand I could orb change. Not in this stage. This stage actually was pretty easy because Narbrol's really good if you run her on Stern of Spirit. But in the other stages, like turn 2, turn 3 hands were just so bad, or Tyr wouldn't have an ult at all because she'd get 2 orbs over the course of 7 turns. It's just, it was not a fun experience, if I'm being honest with you. Actually trying to use Tyr was not fun, and it wasn't even Tyr's fault. But one of the things that you will notice, like let's say you're old enough a player to have summoned for the Overlord meta, but you didn't pull Ainz, but you did pull Rimuru, and now you have this Tyr. You can use her as your DPS unit, as we're about to see. But earlier, you likely noticed that we went a turn without using Rimuru. That's, yeah, unfortunately, that's how that's going to work, because Ainz is the one that gives you the extra protection gauge on greens. Without him, you are going to miss out on 1 to 2 stacks of Rimuru. I think it's 2 stacks. I think you miss out on 2 stacks, because there's one where you can't use him at all, and then there's one turn where you should be able to use him twice, but you can only use him once. So you miss out on 2 stacks, but we go ahead, take a look at Tyr's ult real quick. It's very simple. You can tell she's a free-to-play character, though I will say free-to-play 4 stars have more in-depth ultimates than this, and she does a million because she had her own Pierce plus Gi's crits. Now, if you don't have Gi, she's still going to kill Gazel. Like, she's still going to do more than enough damage to kill Gazel. Now, here we have the Water team. We're using that good old Water Milam. Bet you haven't seen her in a long time, but she is a protector that many players might end up pulling at some point. And if you're having trouble beating this Tempered Edge, she can help you do it. She does get Super Weakness Strike on this stage as well. Now, I wanted to see if she could kill through her Pierce. She does not, but if you just don't use that Pierce buff, she will kill. The water attack plus the ult damage plus the Super Weakness Strike plus the stacks of Luminous that I had throughout this fight, because I also brought Octogram Luminous, she would have killed had I not used the Pierce buff. I just wanted to see if she would kill through it, because Shuna has like an 80% Pierce resistance buff, so I was just curious. She didn't. It's fine. If you're using this team, don't bother. Just don't use the Pierce skill, and you'll do fine. Now we're heading into Conquest Milim with the Protector Trainee. Now, Trainee's a very good protector for early players because she can take away a lot of RNG, and so long as you have a decent amount of small buffs, which Tyr does have, she's got 2 55-point skills, she can enable you to use them. I used her 2 buffs on turn 3, swapped her out, brought her back in, used Rimuru on turn 4, just because I wanted to see the extra damage, and she would have killed regardless. I mean, she doesn't even do 100k, but she legitimately would have killed regardless. Now, here's a situation where you might find yourself lacking in AoE nukers, and you want to be able to beat the Light Tempered Edge. Well, Tyr can do it. All you really need to do is kill Xion. Once you kill Xion, Shinsha doesn't do any damage. You can just sit there and exist until you whittle Shinsha down. Xion is the real problem, and if you can take care of her by turn 4, turn 5, then you are pretty much guaranteed to win. And we will show off that Tyr can do it. Excuse me, that Tyr can do it. We also have Mirai just for an occasional future handed greens in live mode, just for a bit of extra damage. But if you don't have Mirai, don't worry about it. If anything, another orb changer or another buffer probably would have been better. Particularly someone who could, buff Green Orb Gauge, like, Exalted Champion Veldor or the free-to-play Isis. One of those two would have probably been better than Mirai, but I just felt like using her on the team. I actually have grown to like Mirai. Xion's dead, and as you're going to see, we're not doing too much damage to Shinsha because she's got the guard and the defense, but she's not going to do any damage to us. Like, she's going to hurt What? Why am I? Shizu. Jesus. I could not for the life of me remember the name Shizu. Alright. She's going to hurt Shizu a little bit, but I think that's just because I don't have a health item on her. So Shizu takes a bunch of damage because I don't have a health accessory on her. But as you'll see throughout this, she's going to do more attacks. 1,000 damage. You're fine. Like, you can just whittle Shinsha down. You're a newer player, don't have a decent option of AoE nukers. Just use Tyr, kill Xion, and you're fine. And that's kind of what I wanted to show off with this clip here. That even in an AoE stage, well, it's not 3 enemies, mind you. If you're facing 3 enemies, it might be a bit harder. But if you're only facing 2, then you can just whittle down Shinsha and you'll be fine. And in the event that both combatants are a problem, then just get your ults quickly and hope that you kill. Now, this one is Crucible 100 with Toa. So the idea behind this one was to get her EX ult immediately and then try and build enough points to nuke. She doesn't kill because I was impatient. I did not get the skill points necessary to do the nuke properly. We do not use the skill fused Rimuru's buff. Keep in mind, you don't need that Space Rimuru skill fused for him to be good. His skill by itself is still decent, it just becomes that much better when skill fused. So if you don't have him skill fused, again, newer player, don't worry about it, you'll probably still kill. But I got super impatient, and we don't kill here. But that one's just my fault, honestly. Yeah, we don't even kill with the follow-up points either. That was fast, wasn't it? But I showed off pretty much everything I wanted to show off. We used like 5 different protectors, 4 or 5 different protectors. We showed her off in a variety of environments, and I think even in this short time, I very much was able to show you that Tyr is a good unit. But once you get past the early stages of the game, you're going to be really hard-pressed to find a place to use her. So if you're new and you pull her, she's going to be great. If you've been playing for a while and you pull her, she might be nice to have, Like, in the event that you are fighting a fire enemy, just a random event comes out, there's a fire enemy, maybe a Jubilee stage that has a single target fire enemy that wants to be hit by a physical character. In that case, just having Tyr will be nice, but if you have already beaten most of the content in the game, Tyr is just going to be one of those units that's nice to have when you need her. But that's going to be pretty much it from me. Let me know what you guys think of Tyr in the comments down below. If there are any specific setups you want me to try her on, let me know, and if I can actually do it, I will make a part 2 of this video where we try her on different setups in different environments. Don't ask me to try her with the Light 3.0 Shuna, because since she stacks a bunch of Pierce power, I tried it, she does no damage on that team, like at all. I tried going into the Tempered Edge Veldora, had her with Shuna, couldn't do shit. She's not built for that type of damage. But anything else, and I would be happy to do it. But if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see all of you motherfuckers next time.